This is Ryan with Stonefly Aquatic Nursery. This is episode 2 in our series, Aquatic Plants and Algae. If you haven't seen episode 1, make sure you go and check that out. It's going to have some background information that may be helpful for this and later episodes. But today we're going to be talking about algae. So what is algae? Well, algae is a grab bag name for a lot of different things, but for all intents and purposes, for this video, algae is going to be the green stuff growing in your pond that isn't rooted. First, we're going to talk about planktonic algae. These are single-celled, free-floating algae that make your water kind of greenish looking. These are generally good to see. They're going to be the foundation of the food chain, and it's extremely important whenever we're talking about that related to fisheries management. That being said, you can have some blooms that could have some negative side effects. Golden algae is another single cell algae that can bloom and cause some problems through the release of toxins. And the symptoms of those blooms are going to be bleeding gills, fins, and scales from your fish. They tend to make the water, when they bloom, they tend to make the water kind of golden brown colored. So it's something you can look for and keep an eye on if you are thinking you might have had this in the past. This is musk grass, and this was the middle picture on the second slide. This looks like a rooted plant, but it's an algae. The reason it's called musk grass for its common name is whenever you rub it in between your fingers or crush it in your palm, it lets off this kind of skunky smell. The texture is also very grainy, and that's pretty atypical for some of the other plants that we talk about. So those are two great ways to be able to tell Cara from other true rooted species of plants. So for example, a southern naiad, which is a rooted plant, is going to be smooth in your hand compared to the really grainy texture of this musk grass. It tends to grow in thick mass and prefers calm waters and can provide habitat in some fashion. Next is Nitella. It's pretty similar, relatively speaking, to that musk grass. One of the easiest ways to tell between the two is that the Nitella is not going to provide or give off that skunky smell that the musk grass gives off. It also tends to look a little bushier, and it also produces a flower. Here's a side-by-side drawing side-by-side of the Nitella on the left and the Cara on the right. Again, the Cara is going to be grainy and give you a skunky smell, whereas the Nitella will not. Next is Filamentous algae. Most people just call this moss, but these are actually multiple species of algae in mats that start growing on the bottom or near sediments on the bottom of a water body. And as gases build up, then they float to the top and create these typically large mats floating across a water body if it's really calm. So small ponds in the summer with a high nutrient load, it's not uncommon to see floating mats of this filamentous algae. But again, they're usually multiple species. So this is another one of those terms that means multiple, or it includes multiple species instead of just one species altogether. The last one we're going to talk about is blue-green algae. Now, this one in particular is not a good thing to see. It's generally a sign of poor water quality. It will float, and it's not actually an algae in the traditional sense. It's a cyanobacteria. And again, there's usually more than one species present when you see this. You may see some that are completely blue, some that are completely green, or a mix thereof. But overall, you could see any one of those three combinations. And whenever you see this, there's going to be a pretty foul smell that's associated with them as well. So if you start to see this, you might have some water quality issues that you'll want to look into. But that rounds out our algae discussion. I know it was pretty quick, but the idea here is to give you an introduction as to what these things are, so that you can see them and know what they are whenever you're looking at your pond or your lake or your wetland to establish your goals. So if you like what we're doing, please hit the like button, consider subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, let us know down in the comments section. And I thank you and appreciate you for watching this video.